Welcome back to the IBSP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
I'm rooting for David Benavidez, and look, let's break it down honest and objectively as possible. And David Benavidez, next fight is at 175 pounds against Alexander Volstik, and I'm actually rooting for David Benavidez in this fight. I hope that David Benavidez puts on a great performance. I hope he goes in there and destroys this guy. I'm supporting, I'm backing, and I'm rooting for David Benavidez. You're absolutely right. I'm hoping he pulls this off and gets a dramatic win over this guy. Just go in there and put on a show. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want to see. The reason why I'm pulling for David Benavidez, rooting for David Benavidez, and hoping that he wins this next fight against Alexander Volstik, the entire reason why is because I want to see Benavidez versus Canelo. I think that, in my opinion, that's the biggest fight in boxing. That's the fight that everybody's been asking for the last few years, and there's no reason why we can't get that fight. And I need David Benavidez to go in there and whoop this man's ass. So if you want to know who I'm rooting for, if you want to know who I'm pulling for, this is who I'm pulling for, David Benavidez. When I look at Canelo Alvarez options for his next fight, Canelo Alvarez has a few options. He has William Skull, who's his IBF mandatory, and that's a pussy fight for Canelo. The only way that's not a pussy fight for Canelo is if Canelo Alvarez fights David Benavidez right after William Skull, or if Canelo Alvarez pays William Skull step-aside money and then fights David Benavidez. If Benavidez is not attached to William Skull in any way, that's a pussy fight for Canelo. If Canelo Alvarez fights Terence Crawford, a guy moving up multiple weight classes, that's a pussy fight for Canelo Alvarez. I've heard people say Benavidez is not in the same weight class. You're absolutely right. Neither is Terence Crawford. And if Canelo takes that fight, it's a pussy fight for Canelo Alvarez. If Canelo Alvarez fights Edgar Berlanga, who's not even mandated to fight Canelo yet, it is his mandatory, but it's not mandated. That's a pussy fight for Canelo Alvarez. None of those fights are what people want to see. None of those fights is what people have been waiting for years to see and been waiting and wanting and wishing for. No one wants those fights like everyone wants Canelo versus David Benavidez. I mean, we got to keep the same energy. I mean, even at the end of the day, if Canelo Alvarez fights a guy like Terence Crawford and people are talking about it's going to be big money, it's a huge money fight, it's a big money fight, he's going to get all this money. Well, if it's not 150 to 200 million like he wanted for David Benavidez, that's a pussy fight, because you got to hold the same standard for Canelo Alvarez that you do for Terence Crawford, that you do for David Benavidez, that you do for Demetrius Andre. You can't switch up. I mean, look, let's just be honest and unbiased. You can't say that I'll fight this guy for all the gold in the world, but this guy I'll take way less. That's not how boxing works. It's a pussy fight if you don't fight David Benavidez, and let's be honest and unbiased.